In my humble opinion, the Crumbleys are not criminally liable for the activities of their son. Let me say this again. They might be morally responsible, they might be spiritually responsible, they might be um maybe civilly, maybe kind of the way you would be liable for a wild animal or something, but not criminal. Criminal agency, this is an area we don't want to get to. And what people are doing is they will confuse what I am saying as my suggesting that he's a good guy or something, or that he's to be commended, or that these are good parents. No, 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 no. These are horrible. But what exactly are they responsible for doing? What were they supposed to do? What were they supposed to do that would have resulted in this not occurring? Let me say this again. This is critical. What were they to do that would have prevented this? What? Now, if you have a wild dog, let's say you have a cane corso, or cane corso, as they're pronounced in this country, and it has a propensity for violence and biting, and it's scary, and you didn't chain him right, could you have prevented this? Yes. Yes, you could have chained him, you could have prevented him, you could have done a lot of things, you could have kept them locked up. What could they have done to prevent this? Not what could they have done to not assist or help or whatever, but this man is a lunatic. Let me go a step further. Let's assume you have a child, an offspring of yours who has mental problems and shows a propensity in the past for violence. What would you have done then? What? Are you going to be liable for, let's say he goes out and rapes somebody? No guns, rape. You knew this person, he had ideations. He sat there and was telling everybody how he planned to commit sexual battery. He kept asking you about, what's the penalty for sexual battery? What is it? And you were put on notice in the school. Even told you, hey, this guy's going crazy. And girls that he knows and friends, people don't want to be around him anymore because they're saying he's making inappropriate, terrible things. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Are you going to be criminally liable if you rape somebody? You have to say yes. If you hold the parents liable for him shooting, you have to hold them liable for everything else. He's a drunk. You know it. I know it. He's been in and out of rehab. This is hypothetical. And you've done nothing. He's 17 years old. And you left the keys of the car out. And he gets in the car and he takes off and he kills somebody. Now, you didn't know he was going to drive, but you know he was a drunk. Are you liable for that too? Where does it stop? And with the kids today being as screwed up as they are you serious? Now, this may sound good because remember, people are unable to differentiate between the modality of liability with their own feelings of disgust. This is what we saw similar to what Alex Jones was in this case regarding Sandy Hook. People would say oftentimes, it's terrible what happened. This is horrible. This is terrible. Should he be sued for libel? Now, this is a little different, but let's give me an example. If he says, I don't believe this happened, if that's all he said. Now, there were some other stories too, because there were people who were themselves targeted, perhaps maybe incited. He called people out by names. That's a little different. But let's assume Alex Jones only said, I don't believe Sandy Hook happened. Let's assume that's what he said. And that caused great mental distress on the part of family members. Should he be sued for defamation? because he doesn't. What if he said, I don't believe we landed on the moon, and Buzz Aldrin sues you because you brought him? You're basically calling him a liar. You're saying he never landed on the moon. You're causing him great. Do you see where this goes? See, nobody thinks about this. Nobody. You don't believe that January 6th was an insurrection. You're sued by one of the police officers who supposedly, nobody was killed that day except for Ashley Babbitt, who was killed by the agent inside the Capitol, whose name was never, and we don't want to get into that again. But do you see what happens? Do you see where we're going with this? You always think, where do we go next from this thing? Look at these kids today, and they're so screwed up, walking around wearing pajamas. We're walking around in Uggs with their therapy dogs, munching their CBD edibles, and they're on their anxiolytics, and they can't go to work because they feel so terrible and they feel so stressed. You want to be liable for that? Are you kidding me? They're trying to pull, they're red flagging you. They're saying this should have been a red flag. They take this horrible case, so horrible, with these absolutely disgustingly weird parents, right? And they're going to be the test case. Because we want everybody to be liable for guns. Gun owners, gun manufacturers, parents, people who get into the guns, people who next inspire those people to want to become violent. And then let's say one day your kid comes out and your son, your daughter is accused of being a racist, a white separatist racist. Why? Because you left all of this literature around, and you should have seen the warning signs that people told you. His Facebook indicated, and he goes up and he commits a hate crime or shoots up a black church or does something. You should have been on notice. Do you see where we're going with this? You don't want to live in a world like this. Everybody is pushing the responsibility to as many people as possible. Now let's talk about responsibility and agency, if you will. There is something called respondeat superior. That means simply this. And I mean that. It means that if you are the beneficiary of someone's work, someone's talent, someone's labor, if you benefit from someone's labor and the like, then you should also bear responsibility if that person during the course of their employment does something and is negligent. If some Budweiser truck runs over your kid, you're going to sue Budweiser or the distributor, or maybe this is too easy, if there's a products liability case with the truck or whatever it is, but you're going to sue the owner under respondeat superior. It's an agency theory. It's an agency theory. We also have inchoate crimes to an extent. You don't have to kill somebody, but if you go out and hire a hitman, if you solicit, this is inchoate crimes. If you solicit, or if you yourself say, well, if you're the killer, but if you offer money to someone, if you put the word out, you're charged with soliciting. You didn't actually kill, but we have something called not agency law, but accomplice law. And if you aid, abet, counsel, procure, hire, if you are there, you're a principal in the first degree. You are, if you're the getaway driver of a bank, you're just as guilty. That's okay. But do you want to live in a rule where this is what? Do you believe that parents, do you want to be liable for everything your kid does? Yes or no? What about it, Pittman, Andy, Mark Lewis? Come on. What about you, hillbilly? Answer my question. There's Gracie. The whole gang is here. By the way, this is usually our crew from the Lionel Nation party, and they are wacky. Wacky, but in a great and a wonderful way. You understand that? Do you think you should be, should your parents have been responsible for you? What if they used to leave the Rush Limbaugh show on? Oh my God. What if they hear this guy had on Alex Jones and now he's going out spewing anti-vaccine nonsense and conspiracy theories, which one day will be against the law, guaranteed. They were raised by you. You were raised. This guy goes out and his son's a racist. Why? Because he listened to you. He heard you spout your racism. And by the way, let's say your kid was only subjected to the music of Diddy and the like. Look at that. See where this is going? Do you see where this is going? This is what we don't want this. But everybody's saying, well, I think the parents are responsible. No, what you're doing is you're confusing I'm pissed off and I'm angry, as well you should be, with somebody's got to pay for this. And you look at those people. They knew he was crazy, so what? One day you're going to hear this. We're going to say, did you put that book out? You know, Alex Jones, Bobby Kennedy, you turned people on to this anti-vax stuff, and you should be held for the murder of this person because they died because they didn't get that vaccine, and that's why they died. They died of a comorbid, blah, 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 because of you, because of your words, because of your thoughts. You see how we're trying to push responsibility to as many people as possible so that the kill range affects as many people as possible, and that is unacceptable. Do you hear me? That, dear friend, is unacceptable. We will not permit this. We will not allow this. We will not let this happen. Do not fall prey to this. I know you're upset, and I know especially school shootings and shootings of people, it's awful, but we lose our minds over this. And what do? You do this by making people do the best that you can. Yes, if you have a son or a daughter or a child or a relative or anybody who is exhibiting behaviors that indeed prove problematic to something. Do you know how many kids today on a regular basis say stuff that never turns into any kind of crime, but they're lunatics? Don't fall victim. Don't fall prey to this. Don't fall to this. Let's go after and blame parents, because it's not that I want to protect parents. It's I want to protect society from having the explosion in the damage zone, the epicenter, and the radiation. I don't want people to be affected because I don't want Facebook to be liable because, well, they published his manifesto. And I don't want the gun manufacturer because they if it wasn't for that gun, you couldn't do this. I don't want the ammunition because the ammunition is responsible. I don't want the press. I don't want the music. He listened to these music. He watched, and he listened to Fox News and maybe that. No. There's always somebody to blame. And it was the Bible. He read the Bible. He kept hearing stuff about God and that and that. And he kept hearing about eschatology and the end of times. And he goes out and he kills somebody Jewish because he's been hearing all this propaganda about Gaza. And I blame the internet for that. Do you know that this will end nowhere? I mean, or end in no particular time. And I still want, there will be, mark my words, people charged with sexual battery where the parents are going to be held responsible for that too. You were put on notice. You knew this. So, ladies and gentlemen, please remember, be vigilant, be strong, but don't lose your mind. All right? Okay? Are we all straight on that? good. Now, this evening, when I'm done with this at 7 p.m., I invite you to join us on our sister channel. Most of you, I think, are from there, but it's at Lionel Nation. We're going to be talking about this and a variety of other stories, which I think are most interesting and subject to your perusal and review. So thank you, dear friends. Have a great day. Don't ever change. I mean that sincerely. Again, thank you for following Lionel Legal. Don't forget our other channel, Lionel Nation. And don't forget Mrs. L's network, her YouTube channel, Lynn's Warriors. Until then, my friend, I say to you, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Tate.